Every single day is a new opportunity, a new fight, a fresh chance to rise above who you were yesterday. Progress isn't about luck. It's not about waiting for motivation to magically appear. It's about discipline. It's about obsession. It's about showing up when no one's watching and pushing harder when everyone else has already quit. You want to grow. Then train when you're tired. Focus when you're frustrated. Show up when you're scared. Because progress doesn't come to the most talented. It comes to the most committed. There will be noise, doubt, people telling you to slow down, to be realistic. Let them talk. Your job is to stay locked in. Tunnel vision. Wake up early. Recover smart. Eat clean. Think sharp. Dream bigger than anyone thinks is possible, and then work like it's already yours. Every repetition counts. Every hour matters. Every decision adds up. Progress isn't about one big moment. It's about 1,000 small moments that no one claps for. But you feel them. You live them. You become them. This is your time. No more excuses. No more waiting. No matter what stands in your way, injury, failure, setbacks, pain, you rise. You adapt. You push forward. That's how progress is made. Every day, no matter what. Discipline over motivation. That's the mindset that separates champions from the rest. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like a wave. Some days you feel it, some days you don't. But discipline is permanent. Discipline is the engine that keeps running even when everything else inside you says stop. People rely too much on motivation. They wait for the right moment, the right feeling, the perfect mood. But high performers, those who reach the top of any field, they don't wait, they move. They take action whether they feel like it or not. That's the secret. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is intentional. There are mornings when your body feels heavy, your mind clouded, your heart tired. That's when most people pull the blanket over their heads and say, tomorrow. But tomorrow isn't promised. Tomorrow doesn't care about your dreams. Discipline is getting up anyway. It's lacing your shoes even when your muscles ache. It's studying when your eyes are blurry. It's practicing when no one is clapping. Discipline is boring. It's repetitive. It doesn't always feel good. It's saying no to the temporary highs so you can reach permanent greatness. You think it's fun to train alone while your friends are out. It's not. But discipline teaches you to sacrifice, to delay gratification, to think long term, to give up comfort now for power later. That's the kind of mindset that builds legacies. Every single day, discipline demands you make choices. Tiny, unglamorous, consistent choices. The kind of choices that no one sees. Eat clean or eat junk. Rest smart or stay up scrolling. Practice again or take it easy. One choice won't make or break you, but 1,000 will. Progress is cumulative. Discipline stacks victories silently, day after day. Motivation screams. Discipline whispers. Motivation wants the spotlight. Discipline thrives in the shadows. And it's in the shadows where the real game is won, where no fans are cheering, no cameras are rolling, just you, your craft, and your will. Discipline is doing the work when no one's watching. It's putting in the hours when there's no immediate reward. It's going through the drills, the routines, the hard stuff without skipping steps. Because you know the steps matter. When people say things like, you're so lucky, or you're gifted, they don't see the discipline behind the results. They don't see the late nights, the early mornings, the discipline to say no to distractions, to put your dream above your comfort. They see the outcome, not the grind. Motivation will get you started, but only discipline will keep you going. And make no mistake, the journey will test you. There will be setbacks, days you fail, days you fall short. Discipline is what gets you back up. It reminds you that failure is not the end. Quitting is. It holds you accountable when things don't go your way. Think about it, anyone can work hard when they feel inspired. That's easy. But very few people can work hard when they feel nothing. when they're tired, stressed, uncertain. That's when discipline shines. That's when you separate yourself from the average. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It just demands action. It's about taking full ownership of your time, your habits, your choices. You don't wait to feel right. You act to make things right. You train because it's necessary, not because it's fun. You execute the plan even if you're not in the mood. That's power. That's freedom. When you build that kind of discipline, you become unstoppable. Because now your performance isn't tied to your emotions. It's tied to your purpose. You don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the smartest, the fastest, or the strongest. But if you are the most disciplined, you win. Because discipline builds momentum, and momentum compounds into excellence. Day after day, effort after effort, brick after brick. It's not flashy. It's not sexy. But it works. When you build a life on discipline, you develop character. You start to believe in your ability to push through. To persist, you stop breaking promises to yourself. You become someone you can trust. That's rare. That's powerful. Because in the end, it's not about motivation. It's about who you're becoming. Every time you choose discipline, you're sculpting yourself into someone capable of carrying success. This is a game of endurance, not excitement. Excitement fades. Discipline stays. Forget waiting to feel motivated. Build structure. Build habits. Build systems. Make it automatic. Wake up at the same time. Train at the same time. Eat clean because it's what you do, not because you feel like it. That's how you take your emotions out of the equation. That's how you make progress every single day. And the beauty of discipline is that it feeds itself. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. It's like a muscle, under-used, it's weak. But trained, it becomes a weapon. Soon, what used to feel hard becomes normal. What used to drain you becomes automatic. Discipline transforms you. It elevates your mindset, your body, your results. While others are chasing motivation, you're building consistency. While others are making excuses, you're building momentum. And in the end, it's the consistent, disciplined one who stands tall. Because progress doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do daily, with intent, with focus, with discipline. So don't wait to feel ready. You'll lose too much time that way. Get up. Move. Act. Do the work. Not once, not twice, but always. Discipline over motivation. That's the way forward. That's the mindset of a winner.
Obsession beats talent every single time. Talent may give you a head start, but obsession decides who crosses the finish line first. Talent is a gift. Obsession is a choice. It's a hunger so deep that you don't just want to win. You need to. You don't just want to be great. You refuse to be anything less. Most people admire talent. They see someone gifted and say, wow, they were born for this? That's the wrong mindset. The people who dominate the world, the ones who rewrite history, aren't just talented. They are obsessed. They live, breathe, eat, and sleep their craft. They study the game when others are distracted. They train with purpose when others are just going through the motions. And they don't need a cheerleader or a reason. They are driven from within. Obsession isn't pretty. It's not always balanced. It doesn't care about comfort or convenience. Obsession is what gets you out of bed before the sun. It's what makes you do that one extra rep, that one extra drill, that one extra revision when everyone else says, that's enough. Because enough is never enough for the obsessed. It's not about comparing yourself to others. It's about competing with the greatest version of yourself, the one you haven't met yet. You chase that version every day, knowing you'll never catch it, but trying anyway. That's obsession. That's fire. People with talent often relax. They coast. They get used to being good without putting in the hours. But obsession has no off switch. Obsession keeps working in silence when talent starts talking. It keeps grinding in the dark so it can shine in the light. You don't get to the top by accident. You don't become the best in the world by being interested or motivated. You get there by being obsessed, by turning your entire lifestyle into a fortress around your dream. You say no to distractions not because you have to, but because you want to. Because nothing compares to the goal. Nothing else matters as much. That's the difference between the talented and the obsessed. The talented train until they're tired. The obsessed train until they've mastered it. And then they do it again. They don't need applause. They don't need attention. They need progress. That's their oxygen. Obsession creates tunnel vision. You start to see what others can't see. You notice details that the average person skips. You work angles others aren't even aware of. You watch tape differently. You break down technique like a scientist. You attack flaws like a machine. That's the kind of intensity obsession brings. You think greatness happens on the big stage. No. Greatness happens in the repetition, in the early morning grind, in the extra hours that no one tracks. It's a lonely path. There are no shortcuts. You will sacrifice. You will lose people. You will miss out on temporary pleasure, but you will gain something they'll never touch, legacy. Obsessed people don't fear failure. They fear standing still. They don't care if they fall, only that they get back up faster than anyone else. They study every mistake, every weakness, not out of insecurity, but out of a relentless desire to improve. Obsession doesn't settle. It doesn't say, I'm good enough. It says, I'm not there yet. You want to be unstoppable. You want to be undeniable. Then you need more than passion. You need obsession. Passion burns hot, but fades fast. Obsession never cools off. It fuels you on the days when your body is sore, your mind is tired, and your heart wants to quit. Obsession says, one more time. Obsession says, let's go again. You can't teach obsession. It comes from inside, from purpose. From a fire that doesn't need fuel because it is the fuel. When you're obsessed, you don't make excuses. You make time. You don't wait for the perfect moment, you create it. You don't complain about what you don't have. You dominate with what you do. People will call you crazy. Let them. People will say you're doing too much. Ignore them. Because the ones who change the game, the ones who set the standard, they always look extreme to those who settled for average. The truth is, talent might make things easier at first, but it won't protect you when things get tough. It won't show up for you when the pressure hits. Only obsession does that. Only obsession is loyal enough to carry you through the storms. Through injury, rejection, loss, and doubt, you'll meet people with more natural ability. Let them have it. You'll meet people with more support, more resources, more attention. Good for them. But if you're obsessed, none of that matters. Because obsession makes you resourceful. It makes you gritty. It makes you work twice as hard, study twice as deep, and fight twice as long. Eventually, obsession outlasts talent. Obsessed people are the last ones standing. Because while everyone else is looking for a way out, they're already deep into the next phase. Already refining, sharpening, advancing. Obsession means never being satisfied. Not in a way that robs you of joy, but in a way that keeps you climbing higher and higher. And here's the truth. When you combine obsession with consistency, you become a machine. You create pressure on your competition without even speaking. Your presence becomes a statement. You walk into the room and people can feel your energy because obsession radiates. It leaves a mark. This is not about being extreme for the sake of ego. This is about being locked in because your dream demands it. Because your standard is higher than anyone else's. Because your goal isn't just to be good, it's to be great and to stay great. So forget the myth of raw talent being enough. Talent may open the door, but only obsession keeps it open. If you're truly obsessed, you'll make progress every day. You'll improve in silence. You'll build quietly. And one day, when the world sees what you've become, they'll call it overnight success. But you'll know better. You'll know it was obsession all along. Silence the noise. That's not a suggestion. It's a demand. If you want to go anywhere worth going, you've got to learn how to tune out the world and lock in. The noise is everywhere. It's constant. Opinions, distractions, doubters, temptations. It's all designed to break your focus. But if you're serious about greatness, you can't let it touch you. You can't afford to let the outside world drown out the fire inside you. People talk. They always will. Some will doubt you. Some will envy you. Some will pretend to support you while hoping you fail. That's just how it works. The stronger your drive, the louder the noise becomes. But here's the truth. They don't matter. Their opinions don't pay your bills. Their doubts don't dictate your effort. Their voices don't get a say in your destiny. Only you do. Silence the noise means refusing to be pulled into the drama, the comparisons, the nonsense. You don't need to respond to criticism. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Let your work speak. Let your results speak. Let your discipline speak. That's how you shut them up without saying a word. You'll never be able to control what people say, but you can control what you focus on. You can choose not to let the noise enter your mind. Protect your focus like your life depends on it, because in a way it does. Your future depends on it. Your growth depends on it. You can't build something extraordinary if your attention is constantly being hijacked by what other people think, say, or do. Every second you spend arguing, scrolling, gossiping, or doubting is a second you're not improving. You want to know why the best stay ahead? Because they don't have time for distractions. Their minds are a fortress. Their focus is pure. They don't listen to critics. They don't chase trends. They don't need approval. They are locked in while everyone else is scattered. Noise comes in many forms. It's not just people, it's habits. It's your phone, notifications, negative self-talk, social media gossip, cheap entertainment. All of it chips away at your edge. All of it pulls you 1 inch further from your mission. One scroll at a time, one argument at a time, one insecure thought at a time. And before you know it, you're off track. Not because you weren't capable, but because you let the noise distract you from your path. To silence the noise, you have to train your mind like you train your body. You have to practice saying no. No to distractions. No to people who drain you. No to anything that doesn't bring you closer to your goal. This isn't about being rude. It's about being ruthless with your focus. You've got a limited amount of energy each day. You don't owe it to everybody. You owe it to your purpose. The greats understand this. They disappear when it's time to build. They go quiet. They go inward. While the world is shouting and seeking attention, they're grinding in silence. While others argue and explain, they execute. And when they finally show up, it's with results so loud, the noise becomes irrelevant. You don't need to explain your grind to someone who doesn't understand hunger. You don't need to justify your ambition to someone who chose comfort. Let them laugh. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk. That's just fuel. You don't get stronger by arguing. You get stronger by training. You don't get better by defending your plan. You get better by living it. Silencing the noise also means shutting down the inner critic, the voice in your head that says, "You're not good enough. You'll never make it. What if you fail?" That's not truth. That's fear disguised as logic, and fear doesn't get to run your life. You silence that voice by taking action, by proving it wrong with consistency. You keep showing up. You keep leveling up. And soon that voice gets quieter because your results get louder. It's easy to get caught in the noise of comparison. You scroll and see someone else winning, and suddenly you doubt your own lane. You feel behind. But here's the thing, your journey isn't theirs. Your timing isn't theirs. What they have doesn't take away from what's possible for you. You silence that noise by remembering who you are and why you started. You stay in your lane and you run your race. You don't need validation. You don't need constant applause. You need silence. You need solitude. You need space to think, to build, to sharpen your craft. You need hours alone with your goals, not hours lost chasing attention. You want to win? Then you've got to be willing to go quiet and go deep. Some of your greatest breakthroughs will come when you stop listening to everyone else and start listening to your own inner standard. What does the highest version of you expect? What does a champion inside you demand? That's the only voice that matters. Silencing the noise doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being emotionally intelligent. It means protecting your peace. It means walking away from drama, turning off distractions, and pouring your time into things that actually move the needle. Not fake urgency, not meaningless opinions, but real disciplined progress. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be legendary, and legends don't rise by entertaining noise. They rise by staying focused, staying locked in, and doing the work no one else wants to do. So when the noise gets loud, don't react, refocus. When people talk, don't flinch, just keep moving. When doubt creeps in, don't panic, double down on your habits. Let the world wonder how you did it. Let them gossip, judge, question. Because while they're distracted by the noise, you'll be busy becoming undeniable. Consistency wins wars, not effort, not talent. Wars are won by those who show up again and again, day after day, no matter how they feel. The difference between average and unstoppable is this: the unstoppable keep going when motivation disappears. The unstoppable don't just rise to the occasion, they rise every single morning with or without applause. Anyone can give effort once. Anyone can be disciplined for a day, but what about the next day and the next? When it's not exciting anymore, when no one is watching, that's when it counts. That's when consistency separates the serious from the soft. Because when you're consistent, you're dangerous. You don't need ideal conditions. You don't need inspiration. You don't need hype music or sunny weather. You operate like a machine. You show up even when you're tired, even when you're doubting, even when the progress feels invisible. And eventually, that compound effort builds into something no one can deny. That's the thing about consistency. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, gritty, unrelenting. But it's also powerful. It builds discipline. It sharpens your edge. It makes your baseline stronger than most people's peak. Consistency is the king of progress. You don't become great in a single workout, one speech, one performance, or one burst of motivation. You become great by stacking effort over time, one rep at a time, 1 hour at a time, one decision at a time, day after day. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're inconsistent. They start strong but quit when it gets boring. They chase peaks but never build a foundation. And without consistency, even the best plan falls apart. But when you're consistent, even an average plan works. Even an imperfect strategy produces results. Because it's not about being perfect, it's about being relentless, showing up, adjusting, improving, repeating. That's how you win. Consistency is a mindset. It says, I don't care how I feel today. I don't care if it's hard. I don't care if I don't see results yet. I'm locked in. I'm doing the work. And that mindset becomes a weapon. It becomes a standard. You don't lower it for anyone. You don't take days off from it. You live it. This isn't about motivation. Motivation is weak. It fades. It depends on mood. But consistency, that's discipline in action. That's character. That's doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to. Because you know what's at stake. You know what kind of future you're building. And here's the truth: your competition might be faster. They might be stronger. But if they're inconsistent, you'll catch them. You'll pass them. Because while they're up and down, you're steady. While they're sprinting and crashing, you're climbing inch by inch, without losing momentum. Greatness is not built in bursts. It's built in repetition. In mastering the basics so well that they become part of you. In training your mind to keep showing up without overthinking. You just do it. Like breathing. Like clockwork. Some days it's easy. Most days it's not. But you show up anyway. You execute anyway. That's what separates the disciplined from the hopeful. That's what separates champions from dreamers. And no, it won't always feel good. There will be days where you doubt it's working. Days where progress feels like a myth. Days where the results don't match the effort. But that's when consistency matters most. That's when most people stop, and that's when you go harder. Consistency isn't about intensity, it's about frequency. You don't need to destroy yourself in one session. You need to keep showing up for years. You don't get in shape from one killer workout. You get in shape from hundreds of average ones stacked together. You build a legacy not by being amazing once, but by being solid every day, by refusing to disappear, by making discipline your identity. That's when consistency becomes unstoppable. Look at anyone who's great, truly great. You'll find consistency behind it. The athlete who trains on holidays. The artist who writes even when uninspired. The entrepreneur who works when everyone else is partying. The soldier who drills until the move is muscle memory. These people don't rely on mood. They rely on systems, habits, rituals, and they repeat them relentlessly. Consistency builds confidence too. Because when you know you've put in the reps, when you know you've done the work, you walk differently. You think differently. You don't need to fake belief. You've earned it. You've proved to yourself that you can be counted on. You trust yourself. That's a superpower. It's also how you earn respect. Not by talking big, but by doing the small things well, over and over. Consistency sends a message. It says, I'm here. I'm serious. And I'm not leaving. People notice that. It sets you apart without you saying a word. And here's the brutal truth. If you're not consistent, nothing else matters. Not your dreams, not your strategy, not your ambition. Because inconsistency kills progress. It resets your momentum. It keeps you starting over instead of moving forward. But the moment you commit to the schedule, to the routine, to the group, you shift everything. You go from hopeful to inevitable, from reactive to intentional, from average to elite. So if you want to win the long game, forget about flashes of brilliance. Forget about going viral. Forget about short-term hype. Build consistency day in, day out, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because in the end, it's not the most talented, the most gifted, or the most inspired who win. It's the ones who refuse to stop showing up. Your standards shape your future, not your wishes, not your dreams, not your goals. Your standards, the level you refuse to fall below, that's what determines where you end up. Because in the end, you don't get what you want. You get what you tolerate. And if you tolerate average, you'll live average. But if you set your standards at excellence and live like that every day, the future will be forced to catch up. Look around. Most people lower their standards to match their feelings. If they're tired, they quit. If they're bored, they slack. If it's not easy, they drop their effort. That's why they stay stuck. Because they build their life around comfort, not character. But the ones who rise, they build their life around standards. They don't care if they're tired. They don't care if they're misunderstood. They don't care if it's hard. They expect it to be hard. That's the standard. And because they never let it drop, the gap between them and everyone else keeps growing. High standards are not about being perfect. They're about being intentional. They're about knowing what version of yourself you want to become and refusing to settle for less. You don't stumble into greatness. You discipline your way into it. You train your mind, your habits, your focus until the standard becomes non-negotiable. You eat like someone who respects their body. You train like someone who's chasing greatness. You speak like someone who has self-respect. You act like someone who holds themselves to a higher code. Every choice you make either builds your standard or breaks it. There's no neutral. When you raise your standard, everything changes. You stop being okay with excuses. You stop being around people who pull you down. You stop doing things that don't align with your goals. You become ruthless about who you are becoming. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. And most people don't have it. When you set a high standard, people will get uncomfortable. They'll say, relax. They'll say, you're obsessed. Good. Let them say it. That's proof you're moving in the right direction. Because high standards make average people nervous. They feel exposed around discipline. Your seriousness reminds them of their softness. Let that fuel you. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. And here's the truth. Your standard isn't what you say it is. It's what you do when no one's watching. It's how you show up on a cold Monday morning. It's whether you hold form when it gets painful. It's what you demand of yourself in the small moments. The reps, the routines, the details. The ones who dominate their field don't rise to the occasion. They rise to their standard. The problem is, most people set their standard at the bare minimum. They do just enough to not get fired, just enough to not feel guilty, just enough to say they tried. But they don't play to win. They play to survive. That mindset kills potential. You can't win championships with minimum effort. You need maximum standards. And those standards have to show up daily, not once a week, not when you feel like it. Every day, even when you're not inspired, even when you're doubting, even when no one's cheering. That's what builds power. That's what separates the elite. You can tell someone's future by how high they set their standard and how fiercely they protect it. Because life will test it. People will test it. Weak moments will test it. But if you stay firm, if you refuse to lower the bar, the rewards will chase you down. Raise the standard and your habits change. Raise the standard and your circle changes. Raise the standard and your work ethic upgrades. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And what you are is defined by what you accept. You want a stronger body. Raise your nutritional standard. You want a better business. Raise your execution standard. You want peace of mind. Raise your emotional standard. Stop reacting. Stop hoping. Start expecting more from yourself. And yes, this takes time. You won't feel it instantly. But every time you choose discipline over distraction, structure over chaos, focus over excuses, you're rewiring your identity. You're teaching your mind, this is who I am now. And the longer you keep doing it, the more that standard becomes normal. Eventually, the things you used to struggle with won't even feel difficult anymore. They'll be your baseline. Waking up early, staying fit, being focused, staying sharp, that will just be your way of life. That's the reward of high standards. They don't just change your results, they change your identity. But here's the hard truth. No one's coming to enforce your standards for you. That's on you. You can't outsource it. You can't fake it. You have to hold the line yourself. And that means getting brutally honest about your weaknesses. It means confronting the parts of you that settle, that avoid, that delay, and deciding, once and for all, to raise the bar. Ask yourself, what am I currently tolerating that I know I shouldn't? What corners am I cutting? What do I say I want that my actions don't reflect? Then raise it, sharpen it, own it. This world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. It rewards people who hold themselves to a different standard when no one else does. People who are willing to be consistent, disciplined, focused before the success shows up. That's how you win. Not with hype, not with talk, but with standards that are unshakable. Raise them and your future will rise with them. Track everything because the numbers don't lie. Your feelings will lie. Your memory will lie. Your ego will lie. But the numbers? Never. They're raw, unemotional, brutal, and they tell you the truth whether you're ready to hear it or not. You think you're training hard. Check the numbers. You think you're making progress? Check the numbers. You think you're eating clean, staying focused, being disciplined? Show me the data. Show me the proof. Because if you're not tracking it, you're just guessing. And guesswork doesn't build champions. Numbers are your scoreboard, your mirror, your accountability. They cut through the excuses, the stories, the fluff. You either did it or you didn't. You either improved or you stayed the same. That's the beauty of tracking. It exposes reality. And when you see reality clearly, you can dominate it. Too many people live in illusion. They convince themselves they're doing enough, that they're being consistent, that they deserve results. But when you look at their habits, their output, their data, it tells a different story. The present, because the gap between perception and performance is wide. And if you're not tracking, you'll fall right into it. But the disciplined, they track everything, not because they're obsessed with control, but because they're obsessed with progress. They know that what gets measured gets improved. You don't fix what you don't face, and numbers make you face it. Track your workouts, reps, weights, rest times. Track your nutrition, calories, macros, hydration. Track your habits, sleep, screen time, hours spent building your craft. Track your income, track your track your performance, and don't just collect the data. Study it, learn from it, use it like a weapon, because the numbers don't just tell you where you are. They show you where you're weak, where you're inconsistent, where you need to double down. That's how you level up, not with emotion, but with information, not with hope, but with hard data. And here's what most people get wrong. They avoid tracking because they're scared of what they'll find, scared to admit they're not doing enough, scared to admit their habits don't match their goals. But that fear, that's the exact reason you need to track, because clarity creates power. When you know where you stand, you can fix it. When you avoid the truth, you stay stuck. Tracking builds honesty. It humbles you. It shows you that intensity without structure means nothing. You could be working hard, but if you're not working smart, you're wasting time. And only the numbers can reveal that. Imagine trying to win a championship with no scoreboard, no stats, no film, no feedback. You wouldn't take that seriously. So why would you run your life that way? You are the CEO of your own performance. And CEOs don't guess. They review. They optimize. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy, but it's effective. Because high performers don't chase hype. They chase precision. And tracking is the most precise thing you can do. You want to grow faster. Track faster. The moment you track something daily, you bring focus to it. And where focus goes, progress follows. You start noticing patterns. You start identifying gaps. You start making smarter decisions. Faster. That's how winners move. Not randomly, but with precision. And the more you track, the more momentum you build. Because now every action has a feedback loop. You're not operating in the dark. You're not wondering if you're improving. You know you are, or you know you're not. And that knowledge drives urgency. It builds pressure. It makes you better. Even your mindset improves when you track, because numbers reveal effort. They tell you, you put in the work, or they say, you took a shortcut. And over time, that honesty builds identity. You stop lying to yourself. You stop settling. You become someone who values truth over comfort. And let's be clear, you don't have to track everything perfectly, but you have to track something consistently. Don't let perfection become an excuse. A simple notebook, a spreadsheet, an app. Just start. Because once you track for 30, 60, 90 days straight, you become dangerous. Why? Because now you're not guessing, you're engineering your success. You can look back and say, this is what worked, this is what didn't, this is what needs to change. That's how you create progress on demand. That's how you build momentum that doesn't fade. Not by luck, by design. And don't make it optional. Make it automatic. Track like your future depends on it. Because it does. Champions don't just work. They review. They don't just grind. They reflect. That's the edge. You can be more talented than me. You can have more resources, more connections, more luck. But if I track and you don't, I'll catch you. I'll pass you. Because while you're hoping it works, I'm measuring what works. That's the killer mindset. Try that. Improve. Repeat every day. No shortcuts. No guesswork numbers. Just truth, just results. Because the numbers don't lie, and neither does your effort. Your environment either sharpens you or softens you. It's that simple. It either pushes you to rise or lets you slip. And most of the time, it's doing one or the other without you even noticing. The people you're around, the conversations you hear, the standards that are normalized. Every detail is either building your edge or dulling it. You can have all the drive in the world, but if you stay in a weak environment, it will pull you down. Slowly. Silently. One compromise at a time. You skip one workout because your friends make fun of your discipline. You eat junk because everyone around you does. You procrastinate because no one's pushing you to level up. And it doesn't feel like failure. It feels normal. That's the trap. You don't just become what you think. You become what you tolerate. And if your environment tolerates low effort, excuses, gossip, distractions, you will too, not because you're weak, but because no one stays sharp in a dull room. Even the strongest blade rusts if it's left in water long enough. That's why changing your environment isn't optional. It's necessary if you're serious about growth. A sharpening environment doesn't just feel good. It feels intense. It stretches you. It makes you uncomfortable. It forces you to raise your game. When you're around winners, you can't hide. You can't coast. Because excellence is the baseline. And if you don't match it, you stand out in the wrong way. That pressure, that's what you need. Not people who coddle your comfort zones. People who demand your best. People who call you out when you slip. People who don't just support your vision, but expect you to chase it like your life depends on it. Look at your daily surroundings. What are they telling you? Are you around energy or apathy? Clarity or chaos? People who are building something or just talking about it? Are you hearing plans or complaints? Progress or problems? Every sound, every signal, every interaction, it's programming your mindset. Whether you notice it or not, you need to protect your mind like it's the most valuable asset you own. Because it is. You wouldn't pour garbage into your car's engine and expect it to run. So why would you fill your mental space with gossip, drama, negativity, and expect to perform at your peak? You won't. You'll collapse from the inside out. Sharpening environments demand decisions. You have to say no more often. No to people who don't respect your grind. No to distractions that pull you off course. No to routines that drain your focus. And yes, to solitude, discipline, structure, clarity. Sometimes the sharpest move you can make is to walk away from old circles, from dead-end conversations, from anything that numbs your ambition. Not out of arrogance, out of purpose. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to break through, but you can't break through while you're being held back. That's the hardest part, letting go of people who are comfortable staying average. People you care about. People who've been around a long time. But if they're not moving forward, and you are, there's going to be tension. That's normal. That's a sign you're growing. And you can't shrink just to keep the peace. Growth creates separation. That's part of the cost. But with that separation comes space. Space to build, to rise, to breathe in sharper air. And when you step into a high-performance environment, you feel the difference instantly. There's energy. There's space. There's no complaining, only solving. No pity, only purpose. That's where greatness lives. If you're the smartest, strongest, most disciplined person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. That's not ego. It's awareness. You need people who challenge your thinking, who push your limits, who don't let you settle. Because when the environment is right, you don't need constant motivation. The culture does the work. You show up and you're pulled into excellence. And this goes beyond people. Your digital environment matters too. What do you scroll? What do you watch? What do you listen to when you're alone? Is it noise or is it fuel? Every bit of input shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your actions. So choose wisely. Curate your feed like your mindset depends on it. Because it does. Even your physical space is a factor. Is your room clean or chaotic? Is your workspace a place of focus or cluttered with distractions? Order breeds discipline. Discipline breeds clarity. Clarity breeds momentum. You can't build greatness in chaos. You don't have to build a sharpening environment. You just have to be ruthless about what you allow in your space. Trade entertainment for education. Trade gossip for strategy. Trade clutter for structure. One upgrade at a time. Start small if you need to. 1 hour a day in solitude. 1 new podcast. 1 book instead of Netflix. 1 honest conversation with someone who pushes you. That's how the sharpening starts. Not with fireworks, but with standards. And when your environment sharpens you, you begin to feel unstoppable. You wake up hungry. You train harder. You think clearer. You speak with purpose. You act with urgency. Because you're surrounded by energy that doesn't tolerate weakness. And that energy becomes who you are. But remember this, it's your job to build that environment. No one's going to create it for you. You have to fight for it. Protect it. And walk away from anything that threatens it. Not just once, but daily. That's the price of becoming your best. And it's worth every step. Because the wrong environment will destroy a strong mindset. And the right one will unlock everything you're capable of. Progress isn't about perfection. It's not about waiting for the right mood, the perfect setup, or a flash of motivation. It's about showing up every single day, whether it's raining or sunny, whether you're tired or fired up, whether anyone is watching or not. You show up, you execute, you track, you adapt, you grow. Discipline beats emotion. Repetition builds identity. Simplicity drives consistency. And the environment you build around you either sharpens your edge or dulls it. You want to rise? Cut the noise. Eliminate distractions. Surround yourself with standards that demand more from you. There are no secrets, only habits, no hacks, only effort. Progress is earned in silence and proven over time. So commit to the process. Honor your craft, track your truth, and let your work speak so loudly that no one can ignore you. This is your Edge Daily deliberate action. No matter what,